Hey everyone, welcome back to a new Clara IO modeling video. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you two new modeling tools that work along with the Extrude tool that we learned in the last video. I'll also at the end show you how to do basic colors on your object. All right, so let's get started. So this is what we're going to be modeling today, a column. Now we're not going to be able to do the details like right up here with all that sculpting and stuff like that. But we'll be able to get close to one of these here. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that up there as reference. And here we go. Okay, so for this, I recommend you start off with either a box or a cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a box. All right, so there's the box. I've got my top view, left view, perspective view, and front view. In my perspective view, I'm going to come right up here where it says realistic, and I'm going to turn on show edges. And that shows me the white edges that you see here, just so I can really see what the heck is going on. All right, and I think I'm going to go ahead and maximize the perspective window just so it makes it easier. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come over here to the top left, and I'm going to click on the Tools tab, and then I'm going to click on Face Mode. Oops, got to click on the object. Face Mode. All right, so now I'm in Face Mode. So now I can highlight and select and manipulate faces. So I'm going to select the top face and just move it down. All right, so this is going to be the base. And then I think I'll grab the Scale tool, and I'm going to put my mouse pointer right on this center white circle here. And when I click and drag, you'll see that it moves and scales on all of the axes at once. Okay, so that's what that center circle does. I'm not scaling it on the X or the Y or the Z, I'm scaling it on all three. If you don't want to click and drag or it's difficult, you could always come over here where it says scale, you could type in a number. So let me undo. So you'll see the scale says 111, which means it's normal size. So if I want to just go ahead and type in something like 0.9, and I'm just pressing the tab key in between all three numbers. There we go. So that's 0.9 on all three sides. All right, on to the new tool. So the last video we learned how to use the Extrude tool, and the Extrude tool makes new geometry and then pulls it away from the existing geometry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to learn Insert and Bevel today. So I'm going to do Insert, and when you do Insert, it basically makes new geometry, makes a new ring of geometry, because these four faces were not here yet, and brings in the new one and insets it and makes it go in. Now, you've got a couple different settings over here that you can play with, but so the first one is offset. So right now it says that it went inwards negative 0.1. If I want to make that more, I would type in negative 0. Let's just try 3. Hit return, and you can see that it inset even more. Okay, I don't want to go in that far. We'll just do negative 0.2. Okay, so that looks good there. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit Extrude, and now I'm starting to build the base of the column. I'm going to go ahead and drag it up. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is you can do the opposite of an inset, and that's an outset. So with this selected, I'm going to do an inset, and you see that it went in, and that's because it's a negative number. Well, what if I do a positive number? So instead of negative 0.1, what if I just do 0.1? And you'll see that it actually went outwards from the original one. Okay, now since I did that, now I can do an extrude, and I can, bring it up to whatever height I want. But now it's made that cool little bit right there. And if you're designing, a game where you need to do architecture, buildings, ancient ruins, whatever, it's going to be real important to learn how to do inset, both positive and negative. Okay, so I'm going to do another inset. I'm going to do another extrude, and you can basically just kind of keep going like this. So I'm going to go up a little bit more. All right, so now I think it's time to work in a bevel. So bevel is a little bit like an extrude, except bevel will also try to round out the shape. So when I click on bevel, you'll see that it extruded upwards, right? And it created new geometry. So 1, 2, 3, and then the top one here. And while it did it, it also tried to round it and smooth it, which is really cool. You can use this for vehicles and props and all that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at the bevel settings over here. So you've got the length setting, mine's set to 0.2. So if I set it to 0.4, you'll see that it just goes up higher, right? It beveled up higher. And then the bevel is right here where it says segments. So right now it says segments of 2. If I go ahead and I increase the segments, and I do to say 6, you'll see it has a much rounder shape. Okay, now you don't want to go crazy and do 25 segments. You probably don't need that. Your game or your 3D model, your animation, will run slower. Okay, so now I can go ahead and I can extrude. And I can just keep going here. I'll show you a negative extrude, which would basically hollow this out. It's not really how columns worked or were designed, but it can be done. So now I could just basically, if I want it to go, if I want the top cap of this column to be a lot like this bottom one, I have to do an inset, but I don't want it to go in. I want it to go out. So I'm going to change this setting over here called offset. I'm going to change it from a negative number to a positive number. So I'm just going to do 0.2. And now you can see that it's come outward. I'll do one more extrude. And maybe I'll scale it at the top here. So scale it inward. And there we go. When I'm all done modeling, I can click on this icon here, which means it's going to work with a whole object. I'm not working with a piece, I'm just working with the whole object. And then I can just click off and you can see what it looks like. Now, if you want to take this even further, and it's cool looking, but if you want to take this even further, you could choose a certain one here, a certain face. You could scale it in. You could do an extrude, but now the extrude's going outward. I want it to go inward. So instead of positive 0.2, I'm going to do negative 0.2. And now it's actually going inward. I don't want it to be quite that deep, so I'm going to do negative 0.1. Yeah, and maybe I'll make it a little less. I'll do negative 0.5. Whoops. There we go. So I did negative 0.05. So I was getting in there. Okay, and then again, you can go ahead and do this for everything else. You can do an extrusion. Ooh. So you can see what happened was I accidentally had 2 faces selected. So there we go, easy fix. Okay, so again, I'll do an insert, I'll do an extrude, and I already know the number, which is going to be negative 0.05, just so they're all the same. And you get the idea. So I could go around and do that on the other 2 sides. Let me turn off the edges here. There we go. So now it's a more interesting shape, right? Now I could have done a lot more detailing on this upper part here, just kept, extruding and inserting and then doing a negative inserting, so an outsert or an outset, bevels, and made some really, really, really neat things. This will also help you with doing things like making mech robots and robotic legs and stuff like that. So I hope this helps you out. I did say I was going to show you some basic colors, so let's do it. So I select the object. I'm going to come over here, and on the bottom part here, there's a section called Material, and it says Default Color, and that's the gray. I can click in this color picker here, and of course I can choose any color over here. So I might choose something a little bit more towards light yellow, go over here towards gray, something like that. So it's a little bit more of a warmer gray, but it's not quite the gray that it was. All right, so that is how you do basic colors, materials, and that's it for this tutorial. I will see you in the next one. Thanks, everyone.